after the funeral period, and even during, actually, I remember Rachel telling me something very powerful. She was like, this is your time to get closer to God, and it hurts and it doesn't make sense. And in your head, this should not have happened. But what I want you to do is to open your Bible every single day. Sometimes you'll feel like there's something for you. Sometimes you feel like there's nothing, but eventually God is going to speak to you.
Ladies and gentlemen, today I'm sitting down with someone who represents what it means to be young, African, and impactful. She left her home country at 18 years of age to study at UCT, University of Cape Town. And from there, she has built a career that most people twice her age would be proud of. She has held leadership roles where she was responsible for hiring people more qualified than her on paper. Yet, her ability to lead and deliver kept setting her apart. She has spoken on panels, influenced conversations on infrastructure and investment, and continues to shine as a young African woman in corporate spaces that desperately need her voice. On top of that, she has done it all whilst navigating personal loss and holding firmly onto her faith in Jesus. And here's the part that blows me away. All of this by the age of 28. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome my guest today, Chloé Bombole. Welcome, Chloé, to the channel. Thank you so much. How are you doing?
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
That was a very flattering intro, in my opinion, by the way. Yeah. So thanks for that. I'm doing great today. Thank you.
That's good.
Very happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you. It means a lot. I also want to give a shout out to my new partners at Mzuri Coffee. Thank you so much for this. Please check them out. They're in Walter Freedom Park. Coffee tastes good. You can also have a paint and sip session there in the back. So all the details will be found in the description below. All right, so Chloé Bombole, the young African woman redefining corporate success. So people say I've got a bias towards entrepreneurs on my channel. But today I said, let me go the corporate route. Someone that's not in the entrepreneurial field for now, at least. Someone that's fully in corporate. Let's talk about that. Take us back to your childhood. What was life growing up, before you came to South Africa? And also you from multiple origins. Yeah. How was that, navigating through that back then and navigating through that today?
So I would say that was very interesting. I grew up in Congo up until the age of 17. So my dad comes from very humble beginnings. My mom too, actually, it's funny, they met at the corner of the street. I think she was actually going on a date and then he was like, oh, I can drop you. Apparently things were different back in the days. And yeah, they decided to have that love story. They were together for like 25 years. They had 3 kids, one of them being me. So my entire life, I was in Congo, well, up until the age of 17, actually not 18.
Okay, my bad.
No problem. Of mixed origin. So it's very particular. My dad, being half Congolese, half Portuguese, but never really known his dad, was raised by a grandfather. And my mom also half Israeli, half Congolese, the daughter of a teacher coming from a big family as well. And that was also a very interesting dynamic because my grandma was there for so long that she only knew Lingala. So my grandma is actually the one who taught me Lingala because that's the only language that we could speak in. I think growing up, from very early, people saw me as a very smart kid. I never had an issue at school. And growing up, I was just, saddened by what I was seeing around me. Again, I said my dad came from humble beginnings, but I believe he's done extremely well for himself. So I was among the people that can be perceived as privileged, like going to school in an air-conditioned car, never lacking food, like very protected. But every day when you drive in Kinshasa, at least back in the days, and I think today it might be worse, you see poverty around you. And as a child already, I was like, I need to do something about it because this is not okay. And the fact that, my dad and I, we have an open relationship. So there was one day where he told me a story. I actually cried. And it was because of 2 things. First of all, a lot of pride, but also the fact that if it wasn't for what he's done, it could have been me. And this is something that I still carry with me, like when we speak about things like poverty, rape, everything that has to do with what people see as charity, you know, you have to understand that you are the fruit of those who came before you. So I'm the fruit of what my parents did, but without that, it could have been me.
Yeah.
So that very early on, you know, made me change my surrounding, my continent, my country, my city. But I'm here today in South Africa, not really in Congo. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then at 17, I think towards 18, you made a very firm decision to leave home and study here in South Africa. You could have gone overseas, I believe, but you came right south. So tell us about how you actually got into UCT, because there's a little story behind that.
Yes. So first of all, I think me coming here was a calling. I don't want to sound overzealous. You know, I'm Christian, and sometimes as Christian, or when people hear us, they tend to be like, yeah, you always speak about the power of God. But for me, I don't know. As a 17-year-old, when my dad asked me, what would you like to do? Because, I mean, my dad has 14 kids now. Each one of us is asked at the end of secondary school, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go? At 16, at that time I was 16, maybe turning 17, I told my dad, I want to go to South Africa because I believe there is the best university in Africa. And in order to be able to change the continent with economics and finance, and I think an important point is that I studied in the Belgian curriculum. So in the Belgian curriculum, you have the opportunity to choose from very early on what you want to do. You want to do science, you want to do ecos, you want to do what they call like the technical section. I chose eco, and then I was like, I want to be able to study economics and finance in order to influence my continent, right? And in that, I want the African experience. So I picked UCT. In the beginning, my dad was like, okay, interesting. I could have gone elsewhere. My sister went to the UK, and I remember there was a point where my parents also were trying to influence me to go. But my dad, I think, trusted me, took a leap of faith. He was like, you want to do that? Actually, it makes sense. So go and do that. So I come to Joburg first, and I apply to UCT. And I mean, the application is ongoing, and I wait. And my first reply from UCT is a rejection. And they say, oh, you have such good marks. It's actually such a pity, but you come from Congo. You come from a Congolese school. This is not going to work. So it's very interesting that this is something that I receive not too long before the school is set to start. By that time, I fly to Cape Town with my sister, and we go in person to say, you actually made a mistake, you know, and this UCT story is something that's going to happen for me. So that's how it went by.
So from very young, you've always been super confident in yourself and in your abilities.
I think the environment helped. And I think as young adults, and some of us are becoming parents, this is something that we should really try to impart on our environment, on, you know, like the next generation of children. Be confident, but also be resistant, you know.
I like that.
You're not always right, but if you're right about something, and also if you're able to demonstrate that you're right about something, you must go for it.
Yeah. So obviously now we finally get into UCT and stuff. And my next point, I'm going to talk about it because here I love showing people's journeys from the genesis to right now and what we hope to achieve in the future.
Yes.
So everything is nice. You're at UCT in your apartment, living good. And then something happens in your life that shook you. And just to touch on it a little bit, because I want to talk about grief and healing and then getting on to where you are now without getting too much into detail. Unfortunately, you lost your mom, but you were not with her when it happened. So talk to me through that moment of grief and how you overcame it and where your faith grew in that moment of your life.
I think it's important that I take you back, actually, because I'm at UCT and I'm in my apartment, but even that was a journey on its own. So remember, I get to UCT after fighting, and my dad says, I want you to go to res. And I'm like, Dad, there's no way I'm going to res. But then he pays a private res, the money for the year, and then we find out that the res is not built. So in that, there's a lot of admin, finding accommodation, you're dealing with a new environment, you know. And I think it's important to highlight that because that was also not a nice time. So this was February 2015. Finally, we get the rest money back. I get an apartment, settle down. My mom fly to South Africa to help me furnish the apartment, actually with my dad. So maybe they were around March, April. I go back to Congo. We celebrate Easter. It's the short break. And this is actually the last time that I see my mom. Because as I come back to South Africa, it's like the exam period. I think that's about June. My mom gets sick. But it's something that I'm not necessarily aware of, right? Without going into too many details, I don't get to see her in that period. I fly back to Congo in July, end of June, actually. I fly back to Congo because now it's like the first semester is behind us. And there's one day where I'm waiting for my marks, or I think I'd gotten them the night before, and I was telling my dad that I'm going to go out with my cousins to celebrate because I'd gotten very good results. And again, you know, like, remember, I just landed in a new country. I started with no accommodation, no friends, very, I would say, not very little English, but, you know, like there was some questions or some slangy terms that people would use and it will just go overboard.
Course,
So I was not in my usual environment. I remember that day, it was a Saturday, very sunny, very hot in Kinshasa. I'm just lying down. And I hear my dad calling me, he's calling my name, and I'm like, okay, I don't know what's going on. And then it's just like, your mother is gone. So this was obviously a huge shock. I'm going to skip all the details, you know, what happened during the funerals, etc., etc. But after the funeral, I had to come back to South Africa by myself. So now remember, I'm in a new environment. Yeah. This was 4 to 6 months into into the year. I have very little friends, and even at school, actually, they don't know what's going on in my life. I go to school every day dressing in black, and you know, this society, sometimes people don't just care. So everyone sees me, but no one bothers to ask. And I think I have a very strong front as well. You know, like, yes, sometimes you're gonna know what's going on, but if I don't tell you, you'll never know. Yeah. So no one bothers to ask what is happening until the day that I fail. Well, it's the day before my accounting exam, and I'm just like, I don't think I can do this. So I go see my accounting lecturer, and I tell him this is what happened over the holiday period, and he's almost like, well, why didn't you say anything? You know, we could have saved your year or whatever. This is a very weird way of dealing with things, but the grief was so heavy. Yeah. So at the time, I think I had 3 friends in Cape Town, and it was a bit of interesting situation, I would say. So it was people that I knew over social media or by name from very long ago. One in particular, we met on Facebook. His name is Jonathan. The other one is Letitia. Letitia was with her sister Benedict. And these were the people that were carrying me.
Shout out.
Yeah, absolutely. During the grief. By, you know, coming to see me every day, holding my hand. But I think what was very important also were the things that when I left Congo, my best friend, her name is Rachel, so I can only mention her.
Yeah, of course.
And also my grandma and my godmother told me. So after the funeral period, and even during, actually, I remember Rachel telling me something very powerful. She was like, this is your time to get closer to God, and it hurts, and it doesn't make sense, and in your head, this should not have happened. But what I want you to do is to open your Bible every single day. Sometimes you'll feel like there's something for you. Sometimes you feel like there's nothing, but eventually God is going to speak to you. And this was very, very powerful because this is something that I applied when I went back to Cape Town. I was crying in every corner of my apartment back then. And then after crying, what would I do? I would open my Bible, because in that moment, you feel like you have nothing, you have no one. Everything is falling apart. Yeah. I'm alone. My academic year is falling apart. My grandma's advice was, people are going to say a lot of things, but the minute you start entertaining those things, you open a can of worms, and it actually starts ruining your life. And I think that was very powerful advice that I carry with me until today, because, you know, it allows you to keep very focused. My godmother was the one holding my hand through all this, you know, to say, okay, today I read this Bible, this passage in the Bible. This is what it says. I feel like there's something for you.
Yeah.
And I think back in Cape Town then, the people, of course, I mentioned Jonathan, Letitia, Benedict. They were giving me all the space that I needed to grieve. So Letitia was coming to my place. She would be like, okay, let's go out. If I start crying in the car, she would just, sometimes she would stop, sometimes she would continue driving. But, you know, she would respect that moment, just giving me space to cry and not making it feel uncomfortable at all. Jonathan would do very uncomfortable things, bringing me yellow outfits, yellow flowers, because it's like, I'm tired of you wearing black, etc. And my dad is the person that I'm mentioning last, but I think is the one who has the most impact on this. So my dad, while I was at school, after losing my mom, he was calling me every day. So remember, this is someone who just lost his wife.
Yeah.
He's probably hurting, I don't know, 1,000 times more than me, right? But my dad was calling me every single day to tell me, you know, a lot of people might expect you to fail, but I want you to push through because I want you to show them what you're made of. And I think the combination of all this, so having my small, safe community, having my dad that really believed in me, people pushing me to God, this is really what, you know, helped me navigating the loss of my mom.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And then obviously life has to go on, which it did for you. You end up finishing school and then you start working. You already touched on why you wanted to study economics and finance and, you know, how you want to make a change in Africa, which leads us to getting your first professional role. What did you learn in those days when you were working at that company?
I think the first thing that I want to speak about is the power of personal branding, right? When I went to the interview, I was competing against other people that were more competent than me. And I remember it was a setup like this, actually. And I remember this lady asking me, what do I bring to the table? And I said, I get things done. You know, so now when I go into that role, I have to make sure that I honor my personal brand or what I want it to be. That's number one. But number two, I think I learned a lot of diligence and discipline. So my first, so this lady who hired me was my manager, but I had a supervisor. And my first job was not in economics or in finance. Well, it was finance and accounting, but it's very different from what you learn in a pure economic and pure finance stream. I'm not an accountant by profession. I get there, I'm asked to balance things. I've never done that in my life. And this lady asked me, the one night I remember she said, well, I say night because we ended up staying through the night. I remember she told me, she's like, I asked you to do this thing. We need to finish this today. Until you balance this, I remember it was a cash flow statement, and I'm sure accountants out there might be laughing, but she was like, until you balance this thing, you and I, we're not going home, you know? And I think that really taught me to build a lot of resilience, again, at work, a lot of discipline, but also respect my job and also be that person who lives up to the personal brand, because I said I get things done. So now expectation is that,
of course, yeah,
you and I, we're going to get this thing done. Yeah.
So that has obviously set you well for where you are today. So how did you transition from entry level to management so quick?
You know, it's, I need to nuance that statement because I do work under people, and I have people working under me. So I have management and top management. I'm managing a small team, or I'm about to manage a small team of 4 now.
Let's go.
Very privileged to be doing that. But I would say there's a lot of personal attributes that come into that, right? You always have to focus on what's in front of you. And you always have to make sure that whatever you do it with a lot of care and a lot of, I don't want to say passion, because a lot of people can do things well, but they're not passionate about it. But you have to have that concern of I want to do things well, and I want to do things that make sense. I want to understand what I'm doing. What I find working in this role, working in investment, is that the first most important question that you have to ask yourself in everything, and I think that's a great principle of life, is why? Why am I doing this? Why is this supposed to make sense? If it doesn't make sense, why is it not making sense? So I think a lot of curiosity, the ability to listen, that's very important. People like showing that they can say things, I'm the most clever, the most this, the most that. No, just listen, because when you listen, you actually get more than what you're able to give out initially if you're the first one to speak. Humility is a big, big, big qualifying and differentiator for me. You have to be humble in everything that you do. And that humility is actually what's going to allow you to navigate the fact that sometimes you're going to be up against people that are more experienced than you and sometimes less experienced than you. You have to be humble enough to understand that you don't know everything, right? So be willing to be teachable and adaptable. I think adaptability, very, very, very important because, from Sanlam, which was my first job, I ended up doing sales. Then I worked for a company that does startup advisory, and then I landed here. And I think someone looking at my CV today might be like, it's interesting. On paper, it's not the usual profile, but in life, you can see that this is someone who's able to do well in different environments with a different set of parameters.
Yeah. So just in a small sentence, what exactly do you do, please? Because I gave you a nice intro, but we want to hear it from the horse's mouth itself. So what exactly do you do, Chloé?
Okay, so I work in a private equity team. So private equity, we do private investments in non-listed companies. It's a generalist infrastructure fund. So we invest in airports, ports, power generation, assets, digital infrastructure. So that would be your internet data centers, water utilities. Yes. So in Africa, covering the entire continent. Very challenging.
Yeah.
Very challenging.
You travel all the time.
Yes, it's very tiring, I won't lie, but I feel like when you love what you do, every discomfort becomes worthwhile. I'm not going to lie to you and be like, yeah, I love what you do and you're never going to work a day in your life. That's complete crap.
Yeah.
But when you are in a position where you're uncomfortable, you see more an opportunity to grow, and you also remember, why you're here.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like why you decide to be here, why this entire thing means something to you.
A couple of moments ago, you spoke about humility. So you've hired people that are more qualified than you at times on paper.
Yes.
How do you lead in that situation?
I think...
it's a good question, eh?
It is a very good question. And again, I don't want to sound repetitive, but that's when the humility comes into play. And we also need to be clear about the fact that you and I are not defined by which school we went to. Yes, that provides something, but we're not defined by that. We're not defined by, I went to UCT, you went to a different school, I studied this. For example, these are not qualifiers. What determines you is your ability to think, first of all. And I don't know how to translate it in exact terms in English, but it's like the ability to convince someone of your proposition. And this is one of the very first advices that I got from one of my mentors at work. It was like, technically you're great, personality you're great. What I want you to build more is force de proposition. So when you say something, and this is also another advice that I would give, you don't have to be the one that speaks the most or the loudest in the room. You have to speak with impact. You have to measure your words. You need to, when you speak, people know that, okay, she spoke like this, there's a reason behind this. And this also comes down to personal brand, because if you're just someone who's loud all the time, people are going to be like, well, yes, you're loud, but you're not really credible. When you speak, there's a lot of noise in what you're trying to say. So be very precise. Maybe I'm making a long point, but essentially, in hiring people that are more qualified than you have to get a buy-in, right?
Of course, yeah.
It's a negotiation all the time. Even you and I having this conversation, I'm not trying to convince you of anything right now, but it's like some of it is an exchange where, you know, like we're negotiating something. Even me coming here on your podcast.
I had to convince you still.
Yes, but you need to approach life like this. It's not manipulation. It's just negotiation.
Yeah.
Like even I'm sure when you go at home, sometimes your wife and yourself, I mean, I love coffee, so I'm going to get an example. You like, you want to do the Breville machine or the Philips machine? You like the Philips, she likes the Breville. You have to come together.
Okay, fine. We'll get the Philips for you then. Yeah.
But you see what I mean?
Yeah.
All these things, they don't mean anything, especially when you work within a team. You have to come as one. It doesn't matter if I'm more qualified, you're less qualified. At the end of the day, it's going to be the team's work that speaks. And one other thing, right? There's more pride. And this is something that I see with my supervisors. And I'd like to believe that as well. I think they're very proud to see, you know, like the Chloé that they hired 3 years ago is a Chloé that evolved, is a Chloé that took on challenges, etc., etc. And today, it speaks more about the leadership that I'm shining in X and Y role than than if I was caged and not confident and so, yeah, I think negotiation, humility, be teachable. Everyone, even the person who mops there outside, everyone has something to teach you.
Oh, wow. I hope you guys are enjoying what's going on here, because I'm really learning from Chloé. And I try to also, because I get people who are doing really well, and I try to also bring them to like a relatable level. Imposter syndrome. We all go through that. I know you're very confident, but have you ever, or do you ever go through imposter syndrome? Such a high position, you're young as well. How do you navigate that if you go through that?
I go through that. I've gone through that quite a bit, actually. I think what's very important, and this is something that I always tell people that I'm having career conversations with, right? If you identify something that you like you're not strong technically, or, you know, your personality needs to be brushed up in a certain way without, you know, making you someone that you're not. But if you identify something, make sure that you address it. You know, like, for example, in my field, there's a lot of courses for technical skills. My imposter syndrome used to be around technical skills, where now I would do a presentation and I know what I'm talking about, but I'm speaking as someone who doesn't know what she's talking about, you know. I used to lose sleep at night about it. But because I was able to be I would say honest with myself, and be like, okay, I'm not yet in a position where I feel like I know stuff, even though I know stuff. I was able to like correct those things. Also, it's very important at work to be surrounded by people that see you. I like to say this is your tribe, but this is also in life. People that are not scared to say, you did well, I'm so proud of you. But also people that are like, you disappointed me, this is absolute crap. I mean, maybe not in such harsh terms.
Sometimes you should get that, but I hear what you're saying, yeah.
But it's very important because this creates an accountability framework. And, you know, if you're really someone who wants to improve, it can only make you better. It's going to get the best of you always. But you need to have the tough discussion. You need to surround yourself with people that are going to be a mirror as well, you know, because nowadays people are very uncomfortable with the harsh discussion. No, you need to be like, okay, I can count on Rudy Samuel to tell me the truth all the time. So after this, let me just ask him, you know, like about this deliverable. What did he think? Blah, blah, blah. It's very important.
And your working career is about to be 10 years or less or more. When was the moment you felt like, yeah, no, I belong here? Estoy aquí.
So my career is about going on 8 years.
Okay.
And it's very recently that I started seeing that, yes, I belong here. I know what I'm doing. And it's actually very interesting because I remember, so I got promoted this year. But
Congrats.
Last year, thank you very much. Last year, one of my mentors at work approached me and he said, I believe you're ready for promotion, but I want you to feel ready until the promotion comes, right? Because there's nothing worse than someone giving you something and you don't know how to handle it.
Yep.
Yeah, so it was very, very recent. And to be very honest with you, it's only by the grace of God I'm still amazed at how far I've come. You would have told me 3 years ago that I would be this competent, confident person. I would have been like, well, yes, maybe, but I want to see it, you know?
And this is not part of what I have planned, but on a short note, there's this thing about entrepreneurship and corporate, and you can't make so much from 9 to 5, but only in entrepreneurship. But you're doing pretty good for yourself. Let's be honest. What's your take on that discussion? It's possible for someone to rise in the corporate ladder and live very well and not do business. What's your take on that?
That's very true. And I think human beings are adaptable. I don't want to restrict this to people who are still at school, but I would say be very intentional about your career choices. Be very intentional about who you surround yourself with. Speak to people, because if you don't speak to people, you might be underpaid, or the next person might be underpaid, or you might be overpaid and you're complaining, and a lot of things. Speak to people. Get in rooms where people are not afraid, again, to be honest, you know. I'm not saying that everyone should know everyone's pay, but I think this is something that has also helped me quite a bit in my career, without mentioning names, putting my friends on the line, where I would give a quick phone call and be like, okay, this is what they're offering. What do you think? Is it too low, too high? And I think when you also get rid of that imposter syndrome, you get to know your value. So at some point, some things become unacceptable.
Yes.
You know? But to answer your question, what do I think entrepreneurship versus corporate? You can't build a business if you don't have the right network, in my opinion, and if you don't have the right knowledge, and if you don't have the right experience. Because all these things make you credible. So me, Chloe, maybe today, and I'm still giving myself time. I love corporates.
Yeah, I can see.
I'm still giving myself time. Yeah. Maybe one day I'll build a business, but I hope it will be, you know, people will look at me and be like, okay, she's done this, she's gone there, backing her 100%, because we trust the credentials, not because of the schools or whatever, but because this is also something that we've seen. We interacted with her in other settings, and this is how she carries herself, and she has the right knowledge.
Great answer. So I want to introduce something new to the channel with certain guests that I bring. It's like a mini masterclass, aka playbook. I'm going to call it the playbook, the insert person's name playbook. This is where we slow down, get practical, and give you tools to go out and win. So today it's your turn. You're going to open up about the corporate playbook, according to you, how to climb the ladder fast, lead with impact, and still stay true to yourself. So get your notes for this one. So for a young graduate entering corporate South Africa or corporate Africa today, what's the very first move they should do or make to set themselves apart?
Have an open mind. Be very friendly. I'm not saying go around sucking people's behind or whatever. Sorry if I'm being inappropriate. But be approachable. And the open mind is going to allow you to be teachable, right? This is something that I've seen quite often, because I do hire graduates as well. They come with a lot of motivation, which we appreciate, but they always want to show that they know things. Until you've been there, thrown in the deep end, you don't know anything. You just know what was taught on paper. So open mind, yes, very important. And be clear about who you are. I know that this is a constant journey, but it's going to get you somewhere, you know, like it comes down again to what I was saying earlier about personal brand. If you say, and don't say it just for the sake of saying it, if you say, I get things done, make sure that you live up to that. Every single day you get things done. This is how people are going to learn to trust you.
Okay. Networking in corporate can feel forced. What's your method for building authentic, career-changing connections?
I think I'd start by saying that everyone is scared of the unknown, right?
Yeah.
If I am to approach you today and I don't know you, I'm going to be a bit like, okay, maybe not. And I expect vice versa. It doesn't matter if you're projecting to have that huge bubbly personality. There's always a bit of like anxiety that comes with approaching someone for the first time. I would say go for it. You have nothing to lose. And actually, this is a great advice for corporate. I'm not saying do things recklessly, but if you genuinely believe that what you need to do needs to be done, go for it. You have nothing to lose. Approaching someone, I mean, the worst answer that you might get is a no. And I think it's important that I tell this short anecdote about my journey, how I approach someone, and this someone now is a great friend, a great mentor, the person who got me my 2 last jobs. Her name is Jessica. She may or may not look at this episode, but we met on LinkedIn. I popped her a message because I saw Congolese girl, finance, interested in the same things. It started with, hey, how you doing? And then we went for coffees. We became friends. She's one of my sisters, even best mentor. And whenever she'll get an opportunity, and she does it up until now, she'll just pick up the phone because she also trusts, I believe, what she's poured into me, right?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But I also have to recognize that without that step, without saying, hi, how you doing? I would never know about this company that I'm working for right now, etc.
So beautiful, by the way. In male-dominated spaces, how do you ensure that your voice is heard without having to overcompensate?
Be clear about your values, right? If I'm Chloé and I know that, I mean, everyone likes to be heard, but I know that some things are particularly sensitive for me, or if I feel like I'm not, as you said, heard enough, or, you know, whatever it is, I feel like there's a lack of respect. You need to be confident enough to go and approach people and to be like, look, we had this chat. I feel like my point was completely missed. Or during this team meeting, you shut me down, you know? And the reason why I'm mentioning values is because if your value is respect, if your value is consideration, you can't tolerate an environment that doesn't give you that, right? And it doesn't matter what's the gender that you identify with. So I think value is very important. Be willing to have the hard discussions also.
And corporate politics, should we avoid them entirely or learn to navigate them? And if you say learn, how do we navigate through them?
You know, this is a conversation that I was having with someone actually, where I was telling them, you know, I hate politics. I wish we could do away with it, like those corporate politics, corridor noise, blah, blah, blah. And it was like, as long as you have people in a place, you're always going to have politics.
Yeah, and problems, yeah.
Exactly. So the answer is, of course, to learn to navigate them. How, again, you know, like, these are simple things that people don't apply enough in life. Listen to people, learn the people that you're working with. Especially if we're talking about people that are higher up than you, learn what they like, what they don't like, what is, you know, pinching a nerve for them, and vice versa. Actually, when this happens, you don't like that. Read the room. It's very important. This is basic skill that people don't apply enough. Read the room, read the environment, read the people. It sounds simple. I wish I could give you something more practical, but it's only by interacting with people that you get to learn them. It's only by observing. This is very important as well. Observing an environment. I think that's the best way to navigate politics.
Okay. And what daily habits or routines have kept you sharp and visible at work?
Daily habits. So I'm a very organized person.
Yeah, you wake up at like 3.
I wake up at 4:30. I'm extremely organized. This is a byproduct actually of me having ADHD. So from very early on, my ADHD, and this is weird actually, because apparently most people have the opposites. Because they have ADHD, they're not organized. My ADHD consistently kept me extremely organized. I keep a diary. I slot everything into my diary, whether it be tasks that I need to complete into the day. I allocate the time, and appointment. Yes, everything is integrated.
Yeah.
That's very important. When I go to bed at night, I have to have top of mind, what are the 3 key things that I want to do tomorrow? And I think that also helps with, managing expectations, the expectations that I have of people reporting to me, but also the people that I report to. Because when I ask someone to do something, I always tell them my 3 things were set from yesterday. So unless it's absolutely urgent, I can't ask of you to do something just now, and also, again, not to sound overzealous, but talk to God. I talk to God in the shower. People like to do it differently. Getting into the habit of opening your Bible, very important, whether it be for 2 minutes or 20 minutes, you have to do that because there's some teaching that you get, and you are confronted against certain situations that could have destabilized you, but then you might have read something in that morning. Maybe it's like, be still. Now someone is pissing you off at work and you're like, this morning I read that I need to be still. Show up with authenticity, very important. Yourself is the best gift that you can give to the world always. And it doesn't matter if you are an uncomfortable self, a weird self, a bubbly self, annoying self, be yourself. At least people know what to expect.
Exactly,
they know who you are. Yeah.
Wow. And how do you balance performing in your role and also investing in your professional growth?
I think they go hand in hand. I think it ties to what I was saying earlier, right? If I identify something that doesn't work, I have to address it because I'm clear about how I want to show up in my role. Do I want to be a high performer or not? And what does it mean to be a high performer? What are the steps, if I'm not a high performer, that I need to take to be a high performer? Something powerful also that one of my mentors once told me is that you can't ask of others what you're not able to deliver yourself, right? I can't ask you to be kind to me if I'm mean to you. I can't ask you to be respectful if I'm rude, vice versa. And the technicals are the same. I can't ask my intern to run a model back to back if I don't know how to do it myself. So for me, they're not separate. They are together, and unfortunately it comes with a lot of pain because it's like you have to allocate some time for learning by doing, but you also have to be intentional about allocating some time to, I don't know, study on your own, like very short nights probably, but it's worth it.
Yeah. Wow, you strike me as someone that's very intentional. Like, that's what I feel. And we're at the end of the mini masterclass, the Chloé Bombole Playbook. Thank you so much. What does a usual day look like for you at work? Just like, before we go to the closing reflections, what does like a day look like for you?
You want a day at work or a day?
The day at work, please, not when you wake up at 2 a.m.
But that's very important.
Okay, that's fine. Let's go. Yeah.
Waking up at 4:30 or 4:30, sometimes 4:45, and driving to the gym, getting there at 5. Doing hard things with my trainer means that I'm ready to conquer the day, because when I'm done there in my head, and it's not something conscious, right? It's very like psychological, unconscious. When I get out of there, it means that there's nothing that I can't do for the rest of my day. That's the mindset that it puts me in.
Jeez.
Yeah. Another important point, I work from home, but for me, you have to respect your work. So I think right after COVID, people had the image of a person working at home, wearing pajamas. My sister always makes fun of me because she would call me on video sometimes. I'm at home, but I'm wearing a blazer. And she's like, where the hell have you been? And I'm like, I've been at my desk. Why? Because for me, when you look good, first of all, it's the respect that you show to others, but you also feel good. And it means that you deliver good things. But other than that, in practice, what my days look like at work, I check my emails in the morning, reply to important deliverables, check with my interns, what is it that we need to do, check with my own supervisors, my bosses, what is it that we need to do, get cracking. The work is extremely difficult. Sometimes you will go from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. You need to be able to endure that. And for that, you need to be able to remember why you started this whole thing in the first place. Why are you here? Very disciplined also in the way that I do things. And when I say that, it's also in the way that I care for myself. This is something that you cannot neglect. Punctual lunches. I have breakfast, lunch, dinner at the same time. I make like a list of what I'm going to have during the week. Sometimes I mix and match. It's not rigid. It's quite adaptable. But the thing is that you also have to remember, if you work long hours, that the machine is going to continue without you. Yes, for a short time, it's going to be a handicap for them if they don't have you. But let's believe that if they find a replacement, you're not there, but life moves on, you know? So you need to make sure that you're 100% first.
I won't even ask about work-life balance because of how organized you are. You definitely have a balance with friends and family. So I'm not even going to go into that. But what's the one thing you want young African women to know about building a career, in short?
That everything that you ever dream of is possible, honestly. You just have to put in the work. It's not going to be pleasant. But also that there's no shortcut. There's no level of pretty and no level of kind that's going to get you a career, right? And, you know, whenever I'm working very hard, there's a sentence that always comes to my mind. It says, my dad likes saying, good work is good health. Like, that's a translation in English, but I like to say work dignifies. If you do a good work, if you produce something good, if you have a good career, no one can take that dignity away from you. So that's very important to me. Surround yourself with the right people, be open-minded, and eventually everything will work out.
And what does success mean for you now, Chloé Bombole?
Success for me, and there are different levels of success. I can't say that I'm there yet because, I mean, what's the sentence by Nelson Mandela after climbing a great hill?
I don't know.
One realizes that there are many more to climb.
There we go.
Yes. So success for me today is being able to wake up. Because there were times, you know, where I was waking up and I was like, I have this expense, this expense, this expense. By the way, my dad, very strict, is amazing. I know it will never, you know, let me down, but he raised me like I'm part of the military or something. So it's like, you graduated, go do your thing, you know? So there were days where I was like, okay, I want this, I want that. I'm not able to, I don't have money for this, but the day will come, for example. I think for me now, that is success. I wake up every day. The one thing that I have in mind, top of mind, is how do I bridge the gap between where my transaction is today and closing, for example, you know? And I have a long journey, God willing, I have a long career in front of me. But for me, that's already success. I'm not worried about what am I going to eat? Can I go out with my friends? Can I spoil my loved ones? You know, can I show up? Can I be present? Can I go on holiday to this place? I think this is my definition of success. Just peace of mind, peace within myself, being able to show up for my community the way that I want to. Yeah.
Wow. I always tell my viewers that I only bring them powerhouses. And the moment we spoke about this episode, I knew I would have had something great. So thank you for agreeing to come on here and sharing your story. You have answered all the questions so well. I am proud of you. You are doing a great job. I'm watching you from far or from close now. I'm a fan, I'm a supporter, and I'll be right behind you as you're growing in your journey. And just remember that there are people watching you. So please always maintain a high level, because especially after this, more people are going to be inspired by you and what you're doing. So I want to thank you for that. Shout out to Mzuri Coffee as well for the coffee and the water. Thank you for being a part of the journey. And to you guys, thank you for watching, subscribing, sharing, supporting the kind words that you're saying behind the scenes. Really, really do help me. And don't forget that the future is African.
Amen.
Yeah, I'm Rudy Samuel, and I'm signing out. Thank you for watching.